count backwards from 3, you will be in a state of complete relaxation. 3, 2.
Today I'll show you how to do the same thing, persuade people to do exactly what you want them to do, just without the heart attack. I'm John Benson, and this is Sales Copy Secrets. Welcome back, and this is the persuasion tip to get people to do what you want. Just use it in an ethical way if you don't mind, because it'll make the world a better place instead of a worse place, because it's kind of already, kind of chaotic. You don't want to add to the chaos, right? Right. Now listen, you are going to want to watch this video all the way to the end, because I'm going to divide this training into actually 2 parts. Part 1 and part 2. Isn't that clever naming? I thought so. Genius. I know. But because the second part is at the end of the video, you get the point. You need to put the 2 together. Now, if you are a copywriter, if you are a marketer, if you are anyone who sells anything online, you're going to want to know about this simple trick. I'm going to give, and it's really not a trick. I shouldn't say trick. It's a tip. It's a tactic. It's a strategy. It's not a trick like you're fooling somebody. I guess it kind of is, come to think of it. I don't know. I'll let you decide. I'm going to let you be the judge. But one thing is for sure, I love this because it allows me to get around the social media Gestapo, the people that are always trying to filter what you can say and what you can't say online in order to be able to sell something that is ethical, that works. Okay, that's the contingency for me at least. I want it to work, but I should not be constrained by the social media jailers or judges, juries, and executions all in one, the Zucks of the world, if you know what I mean, if I am saying something truthful. So I'm going to give you a way to kind of get around some of that. At least some of the time, you'll always want to check with an attorney, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not one, blah, blah, blah. Here is the deal. It's something that we call priming. Now, priming is a psychological term. It's used a lot in NLP or neuro-linguistic programming. I've actually mentioned it once before in another video, and I'm going to tell you what it is and how you can use it. I'm going to give you 2 tips to use it for a beginner. Like if you're just starting out, you can use it without going to school for NLP or anything crazy like that, or psychology. That was my minor rather. And I'm going to give you 2 advanced techniques you can use and show you examples of all 4. Let's go. So what is priming? Priming is the science of using words specific to the emotional states you want someone to feel. In copywriting, priming is used to shift someone from a state of disinterest or inaction to one of high interest and action. Now, naturally, I take this a step further and use priming in 4, count the 4 different ways. I'm going to go over each of those 4 ways with you right now. First, there are the basics: command priming, switch priming, and then there are the more advanced techniques, embedded priming, and one of my very favorites, character priming. So let's dive into our definitions right now. Of each of these 4, I'm going to give you examples of each. Cool? Command priming is using specific terms that lead your prospect in a given direction. What do I mean by that? It sounds like a really lame definition. It kind of is, to be honest with you. But here's what I mean by example, and you can clearly see what's going on here. I want you to imagine. Notice I'm not asking them to imagine something. I'm telling them I want them to do something. I'm commanding them to imagine. Their brain's going to kick in. They're going to imagine whatever I say next. Another one is picture it this way. Notice I didn't say you could picture it this way, or perhaps you can picture it this way. It's picture it this way. These are commands, and that's part of what leads to the really juicy stuff of priming, is the ability to command someone to do something without sounding exactly like you're commanding them to do it, right? But they are going to picture it the way that you describe it, even if they don't want to. Another one is, if you want to blank, like let's say if you want to lose weight, if you want to fall in love, if you want to train your dog, then you're going to love this tip. Now that's really cool because I'm actually priming them with an emotion that they're going to love something. You are going to love this. You may love this is not what I said. You are going to love it. I'm priming the emotion of love, whatever I say next. Now, the final one is one I really love, and it's using a combination of techniques. Ready? After you take action and purchase today, you're going to open the book to page X. Notice that I'm not giving them an option. I'm just telling them what they're going to do after they purchase in a future pace. In other words, they've already purchased it in my mind. I'm already telling them, after you purchase, you're going to open it to this. Now, I'm not fully future pacing them. I'm not saying, okay, it's 2 days from today and you've opened up to page X. That would be totally future pacing. If you don't know what future pacing is, look below. There's a video about that below. But this is kind of quasi future pacing. Like I'm just walking them through the steps they're going to take to buy. But this is a really, really cool way to engage in this very simple form of priming. So that was command priming. Let's look at switch priming. Switch priming is cool and I use it all the time. Switch priming is going from a first person perspective to a second person perspective in the same context of a sentence or paragraph. All right, so we're definitely going to need an example for this, but when you see it, you're going to totally get it. Ready? I remember the first time I lost 70 pounds and how it made me feel to see my abs for the first time. You look in the mirror and you just cannot believe it. People say to you, wow, you look more fit than you did in high school. Notice what I did there. I was telling a story about myself, but in mid-sentence, I switched the pronouns. I went from I to you. I switched it from first person to second person. I started talking about what they are going to feel like, what they are going to experience inside of discussing my own personal experiences. Now, this is a really cool technique, and I want to show you why. I want to dissect a little bit more of this. I remember when I lost weight, I remember how it made me feel. Then I switched to you look in the mirror and you just cannot believe it. Well, we say those kind of things all the time. We're talking about ourselves and we say you, for example. People say to you. Now that sentence is directed totally at the watcher, the viewer, the prospect, whatever you want to call them. People say to you, wow, you look better than you did in high school. I'm talking directly at them, and that's exactly how the subconscious mind is going to hear it. That's how they're going to respond to it. But I'm doing it in a way that does two things. Number one, it feels like I'm telling a story about myself. And number two, I could say anything there and get by with it from a compliance perspective or almost anything. And that is one of the cool tips about priming. It helps you get by with a lot of compliance issues. And in case you don't know, compliance is where you show your sales page to Facebook and they go, no, you can't say that. No, you will go to jail if you say that. Not real jail, of course, but we'll go to Facebook jail or Google jail or whatever jail they're going to send you to these days. It's the social gulag is what it basically is. But this gets around that because I'm actually talking about me, but the subconscious mind is hearing about you. Now, I want to give you an example of this that you can use in person because these selling techniques, obviously as a copywriter, I use a lot of techniques that deal with words clearly and words in print, on the internet, whatever you want to call it. But a lot of this stuff can be used when you're selling in person. So when you're talking to somebody else, and here's a killer way to do this particular form of priming when you're talking to anyone. So let's say I'm talking to my friend Bob and I'm trying to talk him into buying a course on priming. Here's what I might say to Bob. When I really want to persuade someone, you know what I do? Use priming, Bob. That's the key. Now look carefully at what I did. When I want to persuade someone, do you know what I do? That's talking about me. Use priming, Bob. All I did was throw in Bob's name, but it's a command. Use priming, Bob. Do this, Bob. Bob, you do X. That's the prime. I'm priming Bob's mind to be open to what? In this case, priming. It's kind of meta. So that's our first two, but I want to stop right here and ask you, hey, have I earned your like? I think I have because I got more to come. Look below. Do me a favor. Pulverize that like button. You might want to kill it, man. Just do something really deadly. Don't do that. Don't kill it. Don't kill the like button, but do show it that you are upset. And while you're down there, do me a favor, share this, subscribe if you haven't already, leave me a comment, and listen, most importantly, do ring that bell for notifications so you can be notified when my new videos drop. Cool? Let's get on with the trading. Now I want to cover two more forms of priming. These are a little bit more advanced, but they are well worth it if you want to put in the homework. Let's go. Embedded priming is when you use even more specific words or words you normally can't use for compliance purposes to create an image of the result you're wanting your prospect to achieve or experience. Okay, I know that sounds really complex and it kind of is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down a lot more. I'm going to use an example of something I wrote for a pain relief product to help break it down so I can illustrate exactly what I'm doing. Cool? Now, just to lay groundwork here, you can't say this will give you pain relief if it's a natural supplement, or take XYZ to relieve your pain unless you're selling Advil or something like that. You cannot do this for a natural supplement. And while I understand some of the reasonings for this, some of it can be very detrimental to a customer if you do actually have a natural thing that helps people with, for example, discomfort, shall we say. That's how you would say it from a compliance perspective. Or if you just don't want to get thrown in Facebook jail. However, there is a cool way around this, and that is using these types of priming mechanisms. I'm going to show you what I mean. To use embedded priming, you would use the words you would normally use that you can't use right next to each other, like XYZ is great for pain relief. You can't say that. You would use them outside of the context of this original statement. So what that's going to do is the brain is going to start hearing the words pain and relief and pain and relief in this example, even though they're not attached to the product or service at all. And that's very important. Otherwise, you're going to run afoul of compliance issues. And what do you know? The subconscious mind starts hearing pain relief a lot. I'm going to give you an example. In fact, I'm going to give you 3 examples. Let's go. My friend was in chronic pain, yet I needed relief as well. Relief from seeing her constant pain. Now, what did I do there? My friend was in pain. I needed relief from seeing her in such pain, relief, over and over and over again. But I'm talking about myself, my own emotional pain of watching my friend go through pain. So guess what? The compliance department will just look at this usually and go, nah, yeah. So that's what I want. All right, let's give you another one. Well, not to 3 yet, I'm to 2. My fingers, they have a mind of their own when I'm doing videos. 2, I tell you. Imagine the relief that washed over me when on the window pane said a book on herbal remedies. I wrote that and laughed. I think I laughed for like 5 minutes just because that's so wicked cool. Okay, what am I doing here? I'm using a homonym. So a homonym is a word that sounds like another word. It's spelled differently. So window pane, relief. I'm not even using the word pain, obviously P-A-I-N. I'm saying window pane. So imagine the relief that washed over me when on the window pane. And by the way I would enunciate this inside a video sales letter would be something like this. Imagine the relief that washed over me when on the window pane said a book on herbal remedies. Herbal, you tell me. That is a really cool one. But I got one more for you. In fact, it's the very next sentence. The book taught me how to create a soothing balm from natural herbs. And then it happened. The pain of all those unanswered questions vanished in a millisecond. Again, different ways you can use this really cool technique. And I'm using pain, relief, vanished, millisecond. I'm even throwing a time factor in here. All of it got by compliance. And I just love that because I'm a little bit of a rebel at heart, to be honest with you. Bet you didn't know that. And finally, there's a very advanced version of this, and it's very fun. And it's actually a throwback to, ages gone by. And it's called character priming. Character priming is naming your story's characters using homonyms related to the benefit or topic of the product or service, often using words you could not otherwise due to compliance issues. Now, I just talked about homonyms in the second example I gave above. A homonym, again, is a word that sounds the same as another word, but they mean 2 different things. For example, like by now, in other words, like, hey, by now you probably know. And by now, B-U-Y, by now. You already know from previous videos that I use B-U-Y-N-O-W even on a slide. When I say, by now you probably realize, and occasionally it'll go by really quickly and it will say B-U-Y, because I'm just that way, man.
Can't help myself.
But this technique takes the whole priming thing to a whole new samurai level of persuasion. Now, I'm going to give you a historical view of this, and you've probably heard this before. It's rather childish, but it is an example of character priming. Under the Bleachers by Seymour Butts. Okay. All right. So I know, silly, childish, 4th grade. I get it, but get it? If you laughed at that, you're banned from the channel. Seriously. All right. So Seymour Butts, that is an example of character priming. I'm literally, in this case, saying what's going on, but there's much more clever ways to do this that earn a lot more cash too for you, or can if you do it the way I'm going to tell you. So I wrote for a pain relief product ad once, and I got permission from the real doctor. There was a real doctor associated with it to give him a pen name. In other words, a name that's not him, that he's just going to go by within this particular ad campaign. And I got the name Dr. Stephen Curall. Okay, now bear with me for a second. C-U-R-A-L-L is how I spelled his last name. But what I did is I got the voiceover guy to pronounce his name Curall, like just said it, really quickly. And then later in the VSL, when he was saying, Curall told me that this agent would work great to help soothe my remedies. Curall then said, and onward and so forth. So all their brain was hearing dozens of times over, cure all, cure all, cure all, over and over again. Not a damn thing they could do about it. Not a damn thing they could do about it. I thought that was kind of fun. So I wanted to share that advanced technique with you. Now, obviously, if you get too carried away with this, like if you called the doctor, cure all pain, I mean, then obviously they're going to kind of catch on to that. But this one flew under the radar. Now, another one I shared with you several weeks ago when I was breaking out subheadlines, and I took Paul, who was the real name of the real guy who really is behind this product, another pain relief product. In this case, it's a CBD oil, and I got permission from him to give him a nickname. In other words, my nickname is the Godfather of the VSL. So that's my promotional nickname because I created the VSL, or the $1 billion copywriter, because I'd done over $1 billion in copy. So with the nickname Pain Reliever, I was able to use it in a subheadline. And the subheadline originally read, the pain reliever that boggles the mind. And what I forgot to do is put a colon there. The pain reliever, colon, that boggles the mind, because it changes what the sentence actually means. So I ended up editing that, but so now it has the colon in there. But check this out. The pain reliever, in quotes, that boggles the mind. So here's the sentence underneath it. My name is Paul, and I didn't always have the nickname, the pain reliever. And then came a short story of how it boggles his mind that people started calling him this after he discovered this really cool CBD tincture. So yeah, it's just, this is about as far as you'd want to push it. And this is definitely pushing it even for compliance issues for sure. But it's really, really cool. It's just another way of using character priming, and the Zuck usually can't do a damn thing about it. All right, so that was the video. One persuasion tip, how to get people to do what you want as long as you use it in an ethical way. And obviously you don't have to use it in an ethical way. I just hope that you do, because I'm giving you some really powerful tools here. I don't want those tools to fall into the wrong hands.
Oh.
So please be ethical, be cool. So now you know how to put emotions and even actions into the mind of your prospect, and do so to compel them to purchase or to make a different decision at least, and move them in the direction that you want them to move in. Now, in my next video, I'm going to cover part 1 of a long series called my $50 million sales letter breakdown. I'm going to break down my $50 million sales letter blueprint. Hey, how ironic and cool is that? Or bad naming, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to break this out over a lot of videos. So I'm not going to do all the videos straight, because that would be kind of boring. And I want to give you like maybe one video a week of the breakdown. So that keeps you coming back to the channel, but it also allows me to do a lot of fresh content and different stuff, because I get a lot of requests and I'm trying to fulfill them. And if you haven't watched my previous videos, you can, because you can get them down below. There's a link thingamajiggy, I'm sure, down there if somebody's done their job right. And while you're down there, do me a favor, pulverize the like button, share this video with a friend, ring the bell for notifications. And as always, I am John Benson, and I'm here to help make you unignorable.